Hello, my name's Reba. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to say it. And I chose my little spot today for recording inside of my lovely walk-in closet. Yes, that's right. And it's not because I'm gay in the closet. No. I'm just a straight, salty, single woman. Yes. But I'm sitting in my closet because it's nice and quiet, and it's probably the best place for me to record where I won't hear my redneck neighbor hawking a loogie downstairs. And it's also a pretty great place because, as you can see, there's not a lot of places for my psychotic cat to jump up and yell at me while I'm in the middle of recording. And as we know, when we record these little podcast thingy wingies, we should take it with utmost seriousness and try and make it as sterile and perfect as possible. Whatever. Anyway, so I used to do a radio show. I was doing radio podcast before Joe Rogan for public access. And I quit because I'm a wuss. That's right. I got tired of looking up all of the negative stories, the terrible negativity, the adrenochrome, the elite, the pedophilia, the Obama's birth certificate, whatever you want to call it. I got tired of all of it. And it was all just so negative, and I could not separate myself from it. And then when Trump was elected, the radio station where I was working became a little intolerable. As you might know, the public access radio station in that small Massachusetts town was quite liberal, right? And I wouldn't even call it liberal. They were communists, fascists. And it was really uncomfortable for me to go there, and, started getting some hate mail, and I just got busy doing other things. So anyway, I said, screw it. I'm not going to do a podcast anymore. But anyway, that doesn't matter anymore. But I have some theories that I find very interesting, and a lot of my friends that I talk to find very interesting as well. So I think it's about time I make a podcast about them and share it. Okay, so here's my theory about Donald Trump. And not just Donald Trump. So when you think about, it seems to me that a lot of people have issues right now with whether or not they can actually believe Donald Trump, or get behind him, support him anymore. I'm one of those people. Yes, he's better than, what we've got in there now, which is, it's so incredibly scary that it has to be laughable. I mean, we have to laugh at the administration that we have in Washington right now, because it is just so scary that to go down any other emotional road would be detrimental to your health. I mean, maybe this is my safe room. I don't know, but I've had to disengage from what's going on with politics in our world, because I feel like there's not a lot of hope. And I think I know why it is the way it is. A lot of people do. I'm not the only person with this theory, but anyway, so it starts out with Donald Trump was a Clinton stooge. They propped him up from the beginning. And for some reason or another, somebody in the creepy elite group, the little group that, Hillary and Obama and everybody run with, really doesn't like Hillary and likes to fuck with her, right? Just like they did in 2008. They absolutely fucked with her by putting Barack Obama in there. And as some of you might remember, that she was busy. She cried. She had a nervous breakdown or whatever up in New Hampshire when Obama beat her. And so she's definitely, I'm just going to be touching on the little itty bitty pieces that my old tired brain can comprehend at this time. This is a rabbit hole. I don't attest to I don't claim to be right. I don't claim to know everything. I just ponder all of the possibilities, and I make observations like we all should be doing every single day, and observe what's going on. And so we saw Donald Trump in 2011 attacking Obama about his birth certificate, right? And so he started, before that though, he had talked about running for president. I don't even know how many times. So he's been on in those little circles. And I'm sure that he's always wanted to be kind of the upper echelons of the elite popular kids. And, we know that he was friends with Epstein, although no matter what he says, he's friends with Epstein. And he's a creep. Most men are perverts. And he has said things that I have found very disturbing, that a man would say about his daughter, that a man would say about other women. There's audio of him saying that he doesn't like to have sex with women who've had babies, right? So there's things like that. I mean, he's just a creeper. That doesn't mean he's not a great leader. Okay. It doesn't mean he's not a great leader. Just like, a captain of a ship can sail the ship perfectly into harbor, although he's a complete asshole and you hate his guts because, he tortures dogs. Well, the fact that he's an asshole and he tortures dogs doesn't mean he can't sail the ship. So that's kind of how I feel about Donald Trump and how I felt about him all along. Yeah, he's a freaking buffoon. He says stupid things that are really just dumb. I mean, he's not eloquent at all. He's just stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I just think anyway, who cares? So anyway, he is compromised by Epstein. Okay. They've got something on him, and they've always had something on him. And so he signed up to play a part should he win in 2016, right? He wasn't sure he was going to win. He didn't think he was going to win, but he played the role they asked him to play, or they told him to play, or whatever. And the algorithms couldn't keep up with the landslide. People wanted him in office, me included. I voted for him. I didn't think he was going to win. I was shocked when I woke up the next morning and Hillary had lost. Totally shocked. So I think that he was put in to serve a purpose. And here's why. One of the things I noticed right away, and you can ask my old friend John, who heard me say this all along from the very beginning. It's like, if you remember 2012, when Ron Paul was running for the Republican nomination. Well, he was completely ghosted in the media, like completely ghosted, right? Completely. I remember Tucker saying, there's a third candidate, when CNN had pictures of all the candidates up there, and who was in first place, second place, and third place. And Ron Paul was in first place, but they didn't even put him on the thing. They completely ghosted Ron Paul. Completely. Although he would have won the primary. I went to one of his rallies in Philadelphia, Liberty Square there. And Liberty Square. Anyway, in Philadelphia, I went to one of his rallies. And it was packed. I mean, crazy. Okay? And that was happening all over the country. He would have won. But anyway, they ghosted him completely. He didn't get any headlines. They just wrote him right off out of all media. What'd they do with Donald Trump? They gave him every single headline. All negative, too. All snarky, negative, gave him every single headline. From the time he walked down that staircase until the time he left office. And even now, they're giving him every headline because he's good for ratings. He's a great distraction for what's really going on. And he's signed up for it. I believe he signed up for it. They did not give him the perp walk, right? When they indicted him the first time recently and so-called turned himself in. He didn't get handcuffed. He didn't get mug shots. He didn't get put behind bars. He wasn't humiliated in any way, shape, or form. Right? So had all the things they had claimed he had done so terrible for his time in office been true, then they would have arrested him the second he left office. His kids too. So it doesn't make any sense to me. And what makes sense to me is that he signed up to be, to be part of the bread and circus, the distraction. And there's reasons for that. One of the reasons I believe is that he's compromised by Epstein. Why the F did he appoint Bill Barr? Why didn't he fire Bill Barr? Why didn't he fire? The list can go on. I don't have it in front of me, But why, and then as soon as Bill Barr comes along, what happens? Jeffrey Epstein's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell is freaking arrested. And do we ever see one freaking picture or video from her trial? Nope. Do we get to see the Black Book? Nope. Trump was a part of it. He had to have been. But there's also, and now if that's not true, although I do believe it is, to some degree, I don't think that he went around raping babies or anything like that, but I really wouldn't doubt it if, there were underage girls involved and embarrassing situations on camera from Epstein. But here's the big theory for me. This is the overall reason why there's no powerful good guys really stepping out and doing anything about anything. I don't have a monologue. I'm just shooting my mouth off. So I apologize for that. This is just kind of like a little test run on. So have you seen the movie 2012? If you haven't, I recommend you see it. Yes, it's true. The federal government subsidizes Hollywood hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And there's truth in that the CIA goes around and consults screenwriters and movie makers and TV shows and stuff like that about the things that they want in. And the reason for that is well, there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of the things about the occult, witchcraft and the occult, is if you want to spellbind someone, you have got to have their permission, right? And permission is as simple as complacency, right? So in order for the magic to work, in order for creepy, dark occultists to acquire all the power that they're after, they're in their pursuits, they need to get the public's complacency. They need to let us know what they're doing. And that's what Hollywood does. And TV shows. Hollywood tells us exactly what the elite are doing. Because when you're watching a movie and you go, hey, yeah, I've seen that actually go on in the real world. And then you think to yourself, wow, they're actually doing that. And then you don't do anything about it. You have just given them your free will. You've given your complacency so that they may use their free will to obtain the powers of the arcane. And it's as simple as with love magic. And love magic, black magic, whatever. In love magic, if you want to cast a spell on somebody, if you don't want bad karma, you've got to ask that person's permission in one way or another, or gain their complacency in order for the spell to work. And so that's happening all the time. So they tell us what they're doing, they tell us what's happening, and if we don't do anything about it, then they have the free will to keep doing what they're doing. And could that be why you never see any major Hollywood movies or TV shows about human trafficking rings, pedophile rings, and that kind of thing? Because they don't want to draw your attention to that, because that's one of the things that most people wouldn't be able to become complacent about. So they keep that as hush-hush as possible. And I think an element of their ring, their evil, is somewhat ashamed of themselves, as they should be. And so what I'm getting at here is that people like Trump and whoever else out there, not only are they compromised or perhaps compromised, but they are securing a seat on board one of the survival arcs that are in place and being built, whether that be off-world orbit stations, moon stations, Mars stations, underground bunkers, or survival boats. They are securing their positions, their legacies, their families on board these survival arcs, because it is true, they know it's true, that the world is coming to an end. We will see another Noah's flood of cataclysmic, absolutely cataclysmic extinction level event that has started with the slipping of the magnetosphere. And then there will be a solar flare or some type of solar activity during solar maximum that will fry whichever side of the earth is facing it. Depending on where the moon is and other planets are, will potentially help us or hurt us when that event takes place. And then shortly after a solar event like that, the earth will turn over on its side. The crust will unlock and there will be a geophysical crustal displacement event that will finish off the rest of the earth that was left after the big solar flare. And now Jeff Bezos is building a launching pad and an underground bunker out in the deserts of New Mexico or Arizona, somewhere out there. If you've watched this far enough and you haven't seen Ben Davidson's videos from Suspicious Observers on YouTube, I recommend going and watching his disaster series on his YouTube channel, Suspicious Observers. He's got a pretty good book too. But all this is based on the declassified CIA documents and a book written by a guy named Chan Thomas that I read a while ago. About 10 years ago, I read this book and have been fascinated with the Earth cataclysmic cycles my entire life. I've always felt it in my bones that I'm probably going to see the end of the world as we know it. With I don't know. But anyway, I'm sitting in a closet. It's actually quite comfortable in here. Yes, it is. Oh, and if I'll ever be able to wear this beautiful sequined skin tight thing again, probably not. There's no way to wear it. Where would I wear it here in West Virginia? To hillbilly heaven or something. But anyway, I know I'm rambling on, but that is my theory of why we don't see anybody really stepping up and trying to really stop this madness that is our political arena and our environment. I mean, everything is inverted. They lie to us about everything. They tell us what's good is bad and what's bad is good, and reduce your carbon footprint. That's the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, do you know what carbon is? I mean, we're carbon. Everything is carbon. Trees absorb carbon. It's symbiotic. We live on a symbiotic earth, and things that are screwing it up are like true green that you spray on your lawn because you're a vain moron that thinks that having a green lawn and poisoning it is the way to do it, instead of perhaps embracing your lawn or growing a different type of grass, or I don't know. But we're idiots. And if we're really that concerned about the environment, then why are we putting up these windmills that require tons of concrete footing and deforestation? And I mean, it's just backwards. It's ass backwards what they're doing. And we're letting it happen. Good people are standing by letting it happen. They're being bought off. They're afraid. They're being bullied. And one of the main reasons why people aren't really stepping up is because perhaps they're hoping to be on board one of those survival arcs when the shit really hits the fan, because we're not far from it. I think we've got 10 or 15 years. It would be interesting to have a whistleblower tell us about this, but even the whistleblowers don't want to tell us about the magnetic excursion events, because then the chances of them and their family riding on the coattails of somebody who's got power to open up the big doors or whatever aren't going to let them in. So it's a frightening situation. And I am kind of obsessed with it. I can't let go of it. I let go of my show in 2018. I stopped doing Let It Rip with Reba because it just got increasingly depressing. I'd get on my show and I'd start doing research and writing a monologue for that week's show, and it was so depressing. I would get so angry and rant that it was eating me up. So I just couldn't keep doing it. But now I've come a long way. and I've learned to really love myself and my sense of humor. And I think it's really important. And it's important no matter what kind of times we're in. It's important for us to have a sense of humor about these things, to be happy, right? Because there's one thing that I know for sure that tells me everything's going to be all right, and that's my trust in God. That's my love for Jesus. I've been born again. I've spent my entire life dabbling in witchcraft and reading tarot cards, and I'll admit it, I'll still pick a card once in a while. There's nothing evil about it at all. And I think that you can be born again, love Jesus, go to church, sing the gospel, spread the gospel, and stay focused on the Lord, as well as flip some I Ching coins or read a tarot card. I don't think that Jesus would hate anybody for doing that when they're just seeking more knowledge and guidance in a world that is misguiding us every step of the way. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. But our sense of humor is really important in these times. Um, and sharing information with each other. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about, because I'm a olderish single woman, with I don't have a ton of money, I don't have a ton of land, and I'm alone. I have a couple cats that, I mean, probably aren't even strong enough to pull me from a ditch. But these are insane times that we're in. So what are we going to do as individuals, as families, as businesses, as towns, communities, churches? What are we going to do to help each other, help ourselves, and to get through this as much as possible? And I don't know, of course, there's going to be people surviving the big cataclysm. We're proof. As I sit here, right here in my closet, I am proof that of survivors. So there's no doubt people will survive, but we don't want the survivors to be the disgusting, creepy elites that are feeding on friggin' babies in their caves. We don't want that. I don't want that. I don't really know what I'm saying. I mean, that's a vision I didn't really want to have. So what do we do meanwhile? Well, we talk to each other. We find our comrades. We don't get fooled by this nonsense that's going on with Trump. And so they're doing the same thing to RFK Jr. as they did to Ron Paul, because he really scares them. But I'm not so sure RFK is a good answer either. None of it is. The way the system is on this planet right now is that to all the good people, here's the thing. So if you're a psychopath, if you're a sociopath, evil, right? If you're evil, you don't have a problem just sneaking around, cheating, lying, setting people up, manipulating to get what you want, right? Well, good people don't do that. And good people have a hard time realizing that other people are busy doing that. I don't know what it is, whatever. But yeah. So we've let it go on too long. We've let the evil get so festered, like an infection. If you leave an infection and don't do anything about it, it's going to fester, 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 and eventually you're going to lose your arm, right? It's kind of the same thing. We have let the corruption and the evil on this planet get away with what it's been doing for too long. It's too late for us to do anything about it. There are no good people out there who are going to stop it. I pretty much, that's what I believe. Nobody's going to stop it. The system has got to burn to the ground. It has got to run itself, run the course, and Mother Earth is going to reset herself. And hopefully good people will survive the cataclysm enough to either band together and stay away from the evil, or I don't know. I have the feeling, I think spiritually, the earth is like a school where we're sent to, where we incarnate to learn about pain and suffering. And everything, when you look around you, I tend to focus on terrible things. And so on my way to work every day, all I see is roadkill everywhere. Dead turtles, dead foxes, dead deer, dead cats, dead squirrels everywhere. So much carnage, dead possums. So human beings, we're not the only ones on this planet who are suffering. Everything on this planet was born to die, from a little tiny, sunflower seed to an elephant. Everything has a birth death cycle. And in between that cycle, during that cycle, there's many times extreme suffering. Some of us escape major tragedies and extreme suffering in our life. A lot of us don't escape it. So I think it's all part of the process, and that's where leaning into God, leaning into your love for spirit. And I'm speaking to everybody, not just Christians, that leaning into God, the higher power, because if you deny the fact that this planet was creatively designed by divinity, then I don't have much for you there. I mean, I think atheists are arrogant pricks, I won't get into that. But anyway, I just wanted to share that theory, that it's the earth cataclysm cycles. The elite, the powerful people of this planet, they all know that it's happening. It's going to happen. It's happening now. We've got 10 to 15 years, maybe 20. Go see Ben Davidson's YouTube channel, Suspicious Observers, and watch his pinned disaster series videos. And then go read Chan Thomas's The Adam and Eve story that's recently been declassified by the CIA. They kept it secret for 60 years. It's fascinating. And it explains why we rushed to get to the moon, why we were so interested in going to Mars, besides the obvious facts, reasons. But we have found vitrification in northern Africa and other parts of the world, which is melting of sand that's turned to glass. And, we also know that the pyramid's outer casing was scorched and melted off. Certain parts of these ancient temples all over the world, certain parts of the world, on the side that was hit with the most heat anyway. So we went to the moon to see if there was any vitrification on the moon's surface, and there was. And same with Mars. We found it there as well. Something terrible happened on Mars as well. So I sometimes am in fear of that. Sometimes I get afraid because I don't want to be stuck somewhere when it all really starts to happen. I want to be in the comfort of my home. I want to be all nestled in. I want to be ready. I want all my ducks in a row before the world ends. I realize that's not going to happen, but anyway, I think it's really important for us to not wander around in denial that these types of things have happened over and over and over again through the course of this planet's history. And, the Bible is right. The stories of the Bible is absolutely right. What happened at Sodom and Gomorrah, what happened with Noah's flood, everything, the creation story, it all makes absolute sense and lines up perfectly with the geologic timeline of what happened 6,500 years ago with the last major flood. So what all the other guys online are saying, I believe it. What Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock and what's the guy's name? Bright Insight guy. What's his name? He's so cute. Is it Joe? I don't know what his name is, from Bright Insights. He's got some great videos on YouTube. I love his videos. The Y Files, all those guys. What everybody's saying. I said it first on Let It Rip 15 years ago. That's right. Wait, 12 years ago. Anyway, I'll have to hunt down some of my old shows and edit them up or something. But anyway, yeah, that's my theory about Donald Trump and the end of the world. So hopefully you'll find God and love and joy in this lifetime. And if and when the time comes for you, you'll go with peace, yeah, and love. And one of the things, who said this to me the other day? Oh yeah, my girl Carrie. About talking about preparing, right? For the grid to go down, stocking your pantry, getting your candles, building a bug out bag for the trunk of your car, all that stuff, which I've kind of done. I've done that. My car is ready to go. We're not necessarily preparing for ourselves. Our preparations might help somebody else, right? Like, what if you don't make it? What if you're stuck in 50 miles from home when the shit hits the fan and you never get home? Somebody will find your stash and be so freaking grateful that you thought about building that for you, right? And then maybe you'll find one closer to wherever you're stuck. I mean, we're all connected. We really are. And if you're busy taking care of yourself, then you can just go ahead and consider the fact that you're taking care of everybody else too. So anyway, that's that. Peace out.